Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and we had a really busy week this week with iOS 18.1 launching, new Macs announced, and iPhone 17 even has more to talk about. This is your weekly Apple News update for the week of October 27th through November 1st, 2024. Apple held its earnings call yesterday for the fourth quarter this year, and Apple actually made more revenue, but the overall earnings after expenses were down due to a settled tax issue in the EU. 14.7 billion in profit with 94.9 billion in revenue. So that's quite a lot. It's definitely up from year over year, it seems, especially with iPhone revenue, which was up to 43.8 billion from last year to 46.2 billion this year. Tim Cook also said that the iPhone 16 is doing better than the iPhone 15 at the same time last year. So it looks like it's selling better than expected. However, they don't give specific sales numbers. Also, Mac and iPad sales increased from 7.6 billion to 7.7 billion this year, and Apple Watch sales fell this time by about 300 million. So that makes sense. They didn't really update them a ton. So that's probably why we saw that, but services were up almost $3 billion. So lots of big changes this year as far as overall revenue, lots of things that Apple has been selling apparently, and doing better than many expected. Tim Cook also said during the call that iOS 18.1 was installed at twice the rate of iOS 17.1 at the same time last year, thanks to Apple Intelligence. So it definitely seems to be the case that many people have been excited about it. Apple this week also released updated USB-C versions of the Magic Keyboard that I've shown in a different video, where basically USB-C and one of the function keys is different, and then also a new Magic Mouse with USB-C on the bottom still. So I haven't opened this one yet, but this one is on the bottom, and it appears that these two accessories are not working properly unless you're on macOS 15.1. If you're on an earlier version of older Mac OSs such as Ventura or others, or maybe you're on 15.2 betas, apparently some of the function keys are not working and Touch ID is not working. Also on the Magic Mouse, apparently scrolling is not working. So this is something just to be aware of, as unless you're on macOS 15.1, I would hold off for now for this, and maybe Apple will have an update soon. Now, Apple this week released a bunch of new Macs that I covered in a separate video, and now some of the benchmarks of the new Mac Mini M4 Pro have started to show up. In fact, the 14-core M4 Pro is apparently outperforming the M2 Ultra, which has a 24-core CPU, by about 1,000 in the overall Geekbench scores. This is very impressive for something with so many less cores, but looks like it's going to be a great desktop, and maybe you don't need a Mac Studio at this point. How it does as far as rendering and things like that, whether it's 3D modeling, Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, or something else, we'll have to wait and see. But at this point, it looks like it's going to be a very powerful chipset. A couple other things to note about the new Macs: they all now start at 16 gigs of RAM, and the new Macs still don't have Wi-Fi 7. That's not something that's really a deal breaker for many, since many people still don't have Wi-Fi 7 routers, but it is something that Apple definitely should have added to the Mac to future-proof it. But maybe there's a reason why, since they're developing their own Wi-Fi chips. But either way, it's a bit disappointing. One other thing to note is Final Cut Pro is set to get a new transcribe to caption feature that was announced in the Mac event. It was actually shown in the Mac Mini video that Apple published online. So that's something that we didn't expect. It looks like it's going to transcribe things, and this will be great for things such as this YouTube video, where we can upload a real-time transcription that's maybe better than what YouTube can do. So hopefully we'll see more of that very, very soon, and they release a new version. Now, if you use Chrome on Mac, there's actually an update there where we actually have a new browsing mode that allows you to boost the overall performance or control it however you'd like. They announced online that there's some new settings with a performance mode, a memory saver, balanced and advanced modes, and it's something that it looks like should really help. So if you're having issues with performance, you should be able to sort of optimize this, and you'll see there's performance issues alerts as well. So that's something that you'll be able to try out, and I'll link this in the description if you want to check it out yourself. As far as the Apple Vision Pro, Apple hasn't given any information as far as how well it's selling or anything like that. However, Apple has announced that Apple Vision Pro will launch in the United Arab Emirates and South Korea on Friday, November 15th. So if you're in those locations, you've been wanting to try one out, you'll be able to go to an Apple store, get fitted, see which one works best for you, or at least just do a demo of it and see if it works for you. So far, I think the content is a little lacking. I would like to see some more content, but it is good for a few different things using it with your Mac and more. But let me know what you think of Vision Pro in the comments below. This week, Apple allowed some journalists to learn about the new hearing test and hearing aid features in iOS 18.1 and how they actually developed those features with their audio lab. The Loop and some others were able to get sort of an inside look at their audio lab, where they've posted an article here. Again, I'll link this in the description, but Apple showed off its audio lab, its anechoic chamber, and how it sort of tests audio overall. So this is something that's great. Apple rarely gives inside looks at things, but they explained how the overall hearing functions work, how they test them, and how they make sure things are working well and sound great with AirPods. Now, as far as deals this week, well, there's perpetual deals on AirPods Pro 2. It looks like we have some deals on AirPods 4, and iPad mini, the new version, is now $99 off on Amazon, sold by Apple. There's also discounts on older Macs since the new Macs are rolling out now. So I'll link those deals in the description if you want to check them out. As far as releases this week, well, we did get a new firmware update for AirPods 4 and AirPods 4 with noise cancellation to version 7B19. This is the same version that we get with the AirPods Pro 2 that brought the hearing functions, and I wish they'd bring that to these AirPods as well. Since they sort of have an unsealed ear tip, that's something that you could maybe hear some ambient noise, and then it could boost the overall volume like normal hearing aids do. So that would be great to see added to this, but so far it hasn't been updated with that. We also are expecting iOS 18.2 Beta 2 probably this coming week. Now, given what they did last time, it could be not necessarily on Monday like we've been seeing, but it could be later in the week. We don't know 100%, but since it's been a couple weeks starting this next week, I do expect them to release iOS 18.2 Beta 2 and maybe Public Beta 1. We'll have to wait and see with that, but based off what we've seen in the past, I think we'll have basically a bi-weekly schedule until we get to about Beta 4, and we expect it to release to the public in December. Now, as far as rumors and leaks this week, well, iPhone 17 production is still in development, but this time in India, it looks like, according to Wayne Ma at The Information. Apple has started to ramp up overall production in India more and more, and it looks like they're getting it ready there. And the same is true that we've seen with overall sales this year, where they've bumped up 33% year over year, according to Bloomburg. It looks like Apple's diversifying more outside of China and building products in India and other places as well. So it's great to see that, where we can just maybe have a better supply chain overall, get things shipped out if there's issues here or there, and it looks like they're building more and more. Let me know if your box shows that it was built in India or China. I'd love to hear where your iPhone's from. Another thing we've been hearing is that Apple has been working on its own 5G chip and Wi-Fi chip for some time. And according to Ming Chi Kuo, Apple is planning to put one of their chips in the iPhone 17 next year. However, the 5G and Wi-Fi chips seem to be separate chips. Some people had thought initially that they were the same chip, but it looks like they're developing two separate chips, where Kuo has said that Apple will put their first 5G chip into the iPhone SE4, but use their overall Broadcom supplier for Wi-Fi like they do now. Then with iPhone 17, we could see that new 5G chip, and hopefully it makes things a little bit better. Sometimes we've had spotty cellular connections, we've had drops here and there, and with Apple controlling everything, we could see some more power efficiencies with 5G and the upcoming chipset. So hopefully we see that this coming year with the iPhone SE4 first, and then moving on to their own 5G chip with iPhone 17. Now this year we've seen so far an updated iPad Pro as well as an iPad mini, and it looks like Apple's still working on a new base iPad, but it's set to come out next spring according to Gurman. This is something we expect every year or so, and it looks like they'll bump that up, probably offer Apple Intelligence still, and then maybe just put a little chipset difference in it. We could get some additional features, but the base iPad seems to be a big seller among educational devices and much more since it's much less expensive, and of course supports Apple Pencil and more. Now, Apple is also working on a HomePod, and I've talked about this a little bit before, where we'd have a HomePod with a display on it that could follow you around, maybe control different things around your home using HomeOS. Apple continues to work on this, and according to Mark Gurman, he said the device would resemble an iMac G4, where it could have sort of a half-sphere base with maybe an armature with an iPad-sized screen on it. Maybe a 16:9 screen, maybe a 4:3 screen, but either way, some sort of touch screen so that you can interact with it, control your home, maybe use it as a FaceTime device and more. So it looks like Apple is tackling HomeOS next, and maybe we'll have better home controllers in the near future. So that's everything with this week's weekly news update. Lots of different products announced this week with iOS 18.1 and iOS 18.2 to look forward to. Let me know what you're most excited about. Are you picking up a new Mac Mini or any of the other Macs? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.